Are you a people pleaser? Are you someone who has a hard time saying no? Hi, I'm Dr. Amanda Barrientos, founder of ABI Coaching, and today I want to talk to you about developing personal power to create win-win relationships in your life and business. If you're a people pleaser, I bet you're someone who feels a little bit of resent about the people around you, or you're not getting exactly where you want to go in life because you're taking on too much and overwhelmed with everything that's coming your way. This is in correlation with your lack of ability to say no. Sometimes it's absolutely essential to say no, and if you have a tendency to be a people pleaser, it's hard to say no. What happens in the interpersonal relationship dynamics when you're a people pleaser is that either you give, and it's hard to say no, so you get overwhelmed, and the people around you will keep coming because they're pushing you to hold a boundary. And until you do, it's likely that you're going to develop more and more overwhelm. So you need to practice saying no. You need to practice not being a people pleaser. And I know a lot of people get stuck in this mode because they think, well, I don't want to be narcissistic and selfish. I want to be giving and I want to say yes because a lot of people around me need so many things and I can do it all. Here's the problem. If you don't have a relationship where there's an equivalent exchange, so there's not reciprocity in what people are giving and taking, you're going to end up growing resentful of the people around you. You're going to burn out and you're going to feel crappy. And the people around you don't really know how to develop a sense of trust for you because trust is developed when people can say no and establish boundaries. So if you're someone who always says yes and is on the people-pleasing end, you're on the altruistic end of the scale. And you probably have a charge thinking that narcissistic people are selfish and bad. If you want to come to a poised state of win-win relationships and have thriving relationships, you've got to be balanced in your altruism and narcissism. It's okay to be narcissistic. It's okay to be altruistic. When you can come to the middle of those two, that's when you're in a balanced state of win-win relationships. It's when you say yes to some projects that are mutually beneficial. It's when you say no to certain projects where you see that you might be a person who is going to do more of the work or other people have had a tendency to put a lot of work on you and you haven't said no. So when you come into the middle, you create a win-win exchange where you go, I'm getting something out of this and I'm also giving my skills, my time, my energy. This can show up in any relationship configuration. People-pleasing and not being able to say no shows up with kids, where you might either be a parent who lets your kids step all over you because you can't say no and you want to please and you want to be liked. In your intimate relationships, it might show up where you're the person who doesn't say what your needs are. You don't even know how to say what your needs are. It could show up at work where you're the person that lots of people put their projects on and you don't know how to say no, so they keep coming to you and you're overwhelmed with their projects, which means you never get a chance for upward mobility. It could be in your running your team where you want to please and say yes, but then you don't actually get to the projects that you want to create and you want to establish. So this is a very important skill. If you're a person who says, ooh, yeah, I have a tendency to people please and I have a hard time saying no, I want you to work on it. Here's some ideas to help you do that. I want you to practice saying no. So we have an automatic response. Often people, especially people pleasers, have an automatic response of saying yes before they even consider what the benefits and drawbacks are to saying yes. So I want you to just slow down and say, let me think about it. Just get in the habit of saying, let me think about it and I'll get back to you. This gives you a couple minutes to reflect on what the benefits and drawbacks are, whether you're coming from a place of people pleasing and not being able to say no, or if you're coming from a true, authentic, values-driven place where you're like, yeah, this is a good win-win opportunity. So start there. Just practice saying, let me think about it. Then I want you to start just saying outright no. Practice the art of saying no because it will start to make you feel clear that when you say no, people still like you. They actually will start to like you more because they'll trust you that you can say no. I used to have this problem. I would say yes to almost everything everyone would ask me to do, and it ended up making me overwhelmed and angry at the people around me, even though it would have been completely fine for me to say yes. I ended up resenting them and pushing them away because I didn't want them to overburden me. But once I developed the ability to say no, then they were able to come to me and trust that I had the boundary and the clarity to say no in the moment. So they'd still ask me, but I'd say, oh, that's not going to work for me right now. And it's hard to say no sometimes. I get offers every day. Do you want to do this? Do you want to be on this podcast? Do you want to partner and do a joint venture with me? Some of them, absolutely. It's a win-win situation. Others, nope, it's not a good equivalent exchange for me. So I've learned to say no very artfully, very kindly. I still can be respectful, but people know my boundaries and they know that I love myself. So these are the things I want you to foster this week. And if you're listening to this on a podcast, subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. Like me on YouTube if that's where you're watching this. Let me know by giving me some feedback and some comments about how these tips are working for you and what you'd like to hear more about in the future. All right, get inspired to do whatever it takes to transform into the most empowered version of yourself so you can lead a rich, thriving, kick-ass life and business. I'll see you next Wednesday with another Max Potential tip.